Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. The first real crack happened at a restaurant downtown 3 weeks before my birthday. Stacy picked the place. Expensive steakhouse, dark lights, jazz music. I got there straight from work. She was already seated, scrolling through her phone without looking up. "You're late," she said. I checked my watch. 4 minutes. That's late when somebody's waiting. I sat down slowly. Interesting. You've barely looked at me all month. That made her glance up. "There you go again," she said. "Everything has to become a conversation." The waiter came over. Stacy smiled at him instantly. Warm voice, soft laugh, whole different personality. Soon as he walked away, the cold came back. I watched her cut into her steak while checking her phone every 30 seconds. "You expecting important news?" I asked. "It's work." "Then answer it after dinner." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't start." "Start what?" "This controlling thing." I leaned back in the booth. "You call basic respect controlling now?" She laughed quietly. "God, you've gotten intense lately." "No," I said calmly. I stopped pretending not to notice things. That landed harder than she expected. For a minute, neither of us talked. Around us, people laughed and clinked glasses, while our table felt like a business meeting nobody wanted to attend. Then her phone lit up again. Without raising my voice, I reached across the table and turned it face down. "Finish dinner with your husband," I said. Her jaw tightened immediately. "Don't touch my stuff. And don't treat me like background noise." She stared at me for a long second. "You know what your problem is, Griffin? You think acting tough fixes everything." "No," I answered. "But acting weak definitely fixes nothing." The waiter returned with wine. Stacy forced another smile for him, but I caught the irritation underneath it now. When he walked away, she folded her arms. "Maybe we need space." "Maybe we do." I said it so calmly that it actually threw her off. That was the moment something shifted. Not loud, not dramatic, just clear. For the first time in our marriage, I stopped chasing her, and Stacy noticed immediately. I changed my routine the next morning. Gym before sunrise, work until dark, no checking in, no asking Stacy where she was going or when she'd be home. I stopped carrying the marriage by myself. Funny thing was, the quieter I got, the more attention she paid. 3 days later, I was at one of my construction sites reviewing delivery orders when my foreman, Jordan Miles, walked beside me holding 2 coffees. "You and Stacy good?" he asked. "We're married," I said. That wasn't my question. I took the coffee. "House feels different." Jordan nodded slowly. "You look calmer, though." "I am calmer." That usually means somebody made a decision. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. "Stacy." I ignored it. Jordan noticed and smirked. "That's new." "Yeah," I said. "It is." That afternoon, I stopped at a coffee shop near downtown and ran into Lisa, Stacy's younger sister. Lisa was different from Stacy in every way. Less polished, more honest. She spotted me near the counter and smiled. "You look like you've been up for hours." "I have," I replied. "Marriage stress usually ages people," she said. "Somehow yours reversed." I let out a short laugh. "You always talk like this?" "Only when I'm right." The barista handed me my drink. Lisa leaned closer slightly. "Stacy's losing her mind, by the way." I raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Because you stopped reacting." That got my attention. Lisa stirred her iced coffee slowly. "My sister likes control, Griffin. Silence makes her nervous." Before I could respond, the coffee shop door opened behind us. Stacy walked in. Her expression changed the second she saw us standing together. "Well," she said tightly, "this is interesting." Lisa didn't move. "Relax. We're talking." Stacy ignored her and looked at me instead. "I called twice. I was working. You could answer. And you could speak to me like a wife instead of a lawyer." Lisa hid a smile behind her cup. Stacy noticed. That irritated her more than anything else. "I need $3,000, she said suddenly. "For what?" "A weekend trip." "With who?" Her eyes hardened. "Why are you interrogating me?" "Because I earned it." The silence stretched. Finally, I stepped closer and lowered my voice. "You want access to my money, Stacy? Start acting like you respect the man making it." For the first time in weeks, she had no response. She grabbed her purse and walked out without another word. Lisa watched the door close behind her. Then she looked back at me carefully. "She thought you'd fold faster," she said quietly. I took a sip of coffee. So did I. A week later, Stacy started acting nice again. Too nice. She asked about my day, sat closer to me on the couch, started touching my arm when she talked. One night, she even made reservations at another restaurant downtown like we were suddenly dating again. I didn't trust any of it. People don't flip personalities overnight without a reason. The answer came 4 nights later. I got home early after a supplier meeting canceled. The house was quiet, except for voices coming from the backyard patio. I recognized Stacy immediately. The second voice belonged to her friend Nicole. I stopped near the kitchen doorway when I heard my name. "He still has no idea," Stacy said, laughing softly. Nicole laughed too. "You're really doing it at the birthday dinner?" "That's the perfect time," Stacy replied. "Everybody'll be there. Family, friends, his business people. He'll be too embarrassed to react." I stayed completely still for a moment. Then I pulled my phone out and started recording. Nicole lowered her voice. "And the other guy?" Stacy laughed again. "Noah's temporary. Relax." That one landed cold. Noah worked in commercial real estate. I'd met him twice at networking events. Nicole sounded nervous now. "What if Griffin finds out before then?" "He won't," Stacy said confidently. "He's predictable. He still thinks this marriage can be fixed." Then Stacy said the line that ended the marriage for good. "I'm giving him divorce papers in a birthday gift box," she said. Imagine his face. Both women laughed. Not nervous laughter, cruel laughter. I listened another minute while Stacy talked about the house, money, and how she expected me to accept reality like an adult. Then I turned away, grabbed my truck keys, and left through the garage without making a sound. I didn't go home for 2 hours. Instead, I parked outside a 24-hour gym and listened to the recording twice. No anger, no panic, just clarity. The next morning, I sat across from attorney Jonathan Blake in a glass office overlooking downtown. He listened carefully, replayed part of the recording, then folded his hands. "You already separate business accounts from personal?" he asked. "Yes." "Good. Do not confront her. Do not warn her. Quiet men win these situations." "I'm not interested in winning," I said calmly. "I'm interested in not getting played." That earned a small smile from him. "Even better," he said. By that afternoon, I had a new private account, copies of every financial document, a rental apartment across town, and a plan. Stacy thought she was preparing a performance. She didn't realize the audience had already seen rehearsals. Once Stacy locked in her plan, she became the perfect wife again. That was how I knew the recording hadn't lied. She started posting photos of us online, dinner dates, gym selfies, smiling captions about gratitude and partnership. Anybody looking from outside would think we were solid. Inside the house, everything felt staged. One Thursday night, she walked into my office wearing a tight black dress and wrapped her arms around my shoulders. "You work too much," she said softly. I kept typing. "Somebody has to." "You still mad about the money thing?" "I'm not mad about anything." That answer bothered her more than anger would have. She moved around the desk and sat on the edge in front of me. "I planned something big for your birthday." "I heard." Her smile froze for half a second. "You heard what?" "That you booked Riverton Steakhouse." She relaxed immediately. "It'll be nice. Family, friends, everybody together again." Everybody together. Exactly what she wanted. I looked at her calmly. "You putting on a show for me or for them?" She laughed lightly. "See? This intense version of you again." I stood up slowly. "No," I said. "This is the version of me that notices things." For a second, we just stared at each other. Then her phone buzzed on the desk beside me. Noah. The name flashed across the screen clear as daylight. Stacy grabbed the phone instantly, but too late. Neither of us spoke. She slipped the phone into her purse. "Work." "Sure. You want to say something?" "Not yet." That unsettled her badly. The next afternoon, I met Lisa for coffee again. She studied my face for about 3 seconds before speaking. "You know, don't you?" "Enough." She sighed and leaned back. "My sister thinks she's directing a movie. Then she better hope I follow the script." Lisa smiled at that, but there was sadness underneath it. "She's underestimating you." "No," I said calmly. "She underestimated respect." That night, I moved the last of my important things into the rental apartment. Documents, watches from my father, backup hard drives, and cash from the house safe. No drama, no revenge, just preparation. When I got back home, Stacy was setting candles on the dining table. She smiled warmly. thought we could have a quiet night together. I loosened my tie and looked around the room. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. And that was the problem. A few days later, my birthday dinner started at 7 sharp at Riverton Steakhouse. Private room upstairs, city skyline through the windows, 30 people packed around 2 long tables. My business partners were there, Stacy's parents, friends, neighbors, and Lisa. She wore a dark red dress and watched the room like she already knew how the night would end. Stacy moved through the crowd smiling like a politician during election season, hand on my arm, quick kisses on my cheek whenever somebody looked our way. Pure performance. Jordan leaned toward me while lifting his beer. "Your wife suddenly likes you again?" I smirked slightly. "Temporary condition." At exactly 8:30, Stacy stood and tapped her wine glass with a fork. The room went quiet. She smiled at me warmly. Everybody knows Griffin's birthday means celebrating a man who works too hard and says too little. Some polite laughter. Then she reached under the table and lifted a black gift box wrapped with a silver ribbon. "This," she said sweetly, "is something unforgettable." I already knew. Still, the room felt tighter when she handed it to me. "Open it," someone said. I pulled the ribbon loose calmly and opened the box. Divorce papers. A few people laughed awkwardly at first, thinking it was some kind of joke. Then they realized it wasn't. Stacy folded her hands dramatically. "I think honesty is important. We've grown apart, and I wanted to handle this like adults." The room went dead quiet. She expected shock, anger, maybe begging. Instead, I slowly flipped through the papers while taking a sip of whiskey. Across the table, Lisa leaned toward me slightly and whispered near my ear, "Sign it, and let her lose everything she thinks she's controlling." I looked at Stacy. Then I signed. Right there in front of everybody. That hit her harder than if I'd flipped the table. Her smile twitched. "That's it?" "That's it," I said calmly. "It's over." I stood up slowly and placed the signed papers back into the gift box. Then I looked around the room. "I already moved out 2 weeks ago," I said evenly. "Lawyers already handled the financial side. Business accounts are protected. And before anybody asks, yes, I knew about Noah." Complete silence. Stacy's face lost color instantly. I picked up my jacket. "You wanted a public moment," I told her calmly. "Now you've got one." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Lisa stood up beside me, and for the first time all night, Stacy looked scared. The room didn't explode. That was the strange part. No shouting, no chaos at first, just silence so heavy it felt like the air stopped moving. Stacy stood frozen with the empty gift box still in her hands. "That's not," she started, then stopped. Her confidence cracked in real time. Jordan broke the silence first. "You set this up at his birthday?" A few heads turned toward her parents. Her father's expression changed immediately. Cold, disappointed. Lisa stepped closer to me, not touching me, just standing beside me like a line had been drawn. Stacy finally snapped out of it. "Griffin, this is not what you think." I shook my head once. Calm. "It's exactly what I think." She stepped forward. "You're embarrassing me." I gave a short laugh. "No, you did that yourself. I just stopped protecting you from it." That landed hard. Someone at the table muttered, "Damn." Stacy looked around, realizing the room wasn't on her side anymore. That was the part she didn't plan for. "I was trying to be honest," she said quickly. "No," I replied. "You were trying to control the narrative." Her eyes flicked to Lisa. "You knew about this?" Lisa didn't hesitate. "I knew you were lying to yourself." That shut Stacy down completely. She grabbed her purse off the chair. "You're making a mistake." I stepped slightly toward her, just enough that she stopped moving. "No," I said quietly. "The mistake was thinking I wouldn't see it coming." She hesitated, like she wanted another angle, another line, anything. Nothing came. So she left. Not dramatically, just walked out of the room she thought she owned. The door shut behind her, and nobody followed. The noise slowly returned after that. Forced conversations, chairs shifting, people unsure what to do with their hands. Jordan came up beside me. "You good?" he asked. "I'm clear," I said. Lisa stayed close as the crowd started to thin. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. We stood near the valet stand while my truck pulled around. Lisa looked at me carefully. "She thought she was humiliating you." "She tried." "And?" I opened the passenger door. "And she taught me something useful." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" I looked back at the restaurant for a second before answering. Never sit at a table where respect has to be negotiated. I got in the truck. Didn't look back when I drove off. The week after the dinner, everything moved fast. My lawyer called me 2 days later. "Cleanest case I've seen in a while," he said. "She tried to control the public moment, but legally she gave you the advantage." "Good," I replied. "Keep it moving." No drama? No drama. That was my rule now. I went back to work like nothing happened. Same sights, same crew, same early mornings. The only difference was silence in my head. Stacy had already moved out of the house. I had bought it before the marriage, so there was nothing left for her to hold on to. She tried to rewrite the story almost immediately. Text messages started coming in. "We need to talk." "You embarrassed me." "This isn't how adults handle things." I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I forwarded everything to my lawyer. Lisa kept showing up in small ways. Coffee after work, quick check-ins, no pressure, no games. One evening she leaned against her car outside my rental apartment. "You planning to stay invisible forever?" she asked. "I'm not invisible," I said. "I'm unavailable for chaos." That made her smile. "Fair." There was a pause before she added, "She tried calling me." "Stacy?" "Yeah, asking questions, trying to get information." I didn't react. Lisa studied me. "You don't care anymore." "I care about structure," I said. "Not stories people invent when they lose control." That was the difference now. A few days later, I went back to the old house to review the final settlement paperwork with my lawyer. The house felt different when I walked through it. Not empty, just finished. No tension in the walls anymore. No guessing. No waiting for the next emotional shift. Just quiet. My lawyer handed me the final documents. "All yours?" he said. I signed without hesitation. When I stepped outside, Jordan was waiting by his truck. "Almost done?" he asked. "Close enough," I replied. He nodded toward the street. "So what now?" I looked around for a second. No rush, no noise. "Now I live like I should have been living all along," I said. Later that night, Lisa texted me once. "Dinner tomorrow?" I stared at it for a moment, then replied simple. "Yeah." No confusion, no games, no performance, just clear lines. And for the first time in a long time, my life felt like it belonged to me again. A month after the birthday dinner, life stopped feeling like a fight and started feeling like a routine again. Work, gym, quiet nights, simple conversations, no tension sitting in the background of every room. That's when I realized something important. I wasn't recovering from the separation. I was recovering from the way I lived inside it. Lisa and I started seeing each other more naturally after that dinner she invited me to. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, just two people talking without needing to win anything. One evening we sat outside a small diner after eating. The street was quiet. My truck was parked across the road under a flickering light. Lisa looked at me and asked, "Do you ever think about going back to how things were?" I shook my head immediately. "No!" She nodded like she expected that answer. "Not even the good parts?" she asked. "There weren't good parts," I said calmly. "There were just quieter bad parts." That made her smile slightly. We sat there for a while without talking. Then she said, "You handled her really clean." "I handled myself," I corrected. She studied me for a second. That's what she never understood. I didn't answer that, because it was true. A few days later, Stacy tried one last time to reach me. Not angry this time, not loud, just a voicemail. Her voice was different, slower. "I didn't think it would go like that," she said. "I thought you'd react differently. I guess I misjudged you." There was a pause. Then she added, "I hope you're okay." I listened once, deleted it. Not out of anger, out of closure. Jordan asked me at work one morning, "You ever think she'll try again?" "No," I said. "Why?" "Because people only come back when they think they still have control," I replied. "She lost that the night she stood up in that restaurant." He nodded slowly. "And you?" "I stopped needing control the moment I chose peace over reaction. That was the difference now. No more chasing, no more proving, no more reacting to chaos like it meant something." A few months later, the divorce was finalized. Stacy walked away with a limited settlement and a payout from the joint accounts. Nothing messy, nothing dragged out, just numbers on paper and signatures that made it final. I kept the business, the accounts I had separated early, and everything I built on my own. A few weeks later, the house was sold too. I heard Stacy had already moved into a rented apartment by then. No scene, no confrontation. Just a quiet shift of her life into somewhere else. I didn't ask where it was, and she didn't offer it. One night, Lisa and I drove out past the city lights just to clear our heads. No destination, just road. At a red light, she glanced over at me. "You ever regret not fighting harder for it?" she asked. I thought about it for a second. Then I answered honestly. "I did fight," I said. "Just not the way she expected." She nodded. The light turned green. I drove forward. That was it. No big ending. No dramatic closure. Just a life that no longer needed an audience. Thank you for watching.